So thank you all for joining us. I know that for many of you, this is your first event of the season, and it's the first remote event you'll be doing. And for some of you, it's your first event ever. So we're happy to have you joining us for this weekend. We've been doing, this will be our fifth remote qualifier of the season, and they've been going pretty well. So we're pretty happy with how they're turning out. Teams have given us positive reviews of what's been done so far. So I hope that your teams will likewise have an enjoyable weekend and week. I have a presentation that I'm going to be showing. So I'm going to share that screen here real quick. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. And so I'm going to share that just so that we can go through and see what all will be happening. Our schedule for tonight, we're going to take about 30 or 40 minutes to go through what you can expect at any time if you wish. Please just pop in with questions. You can unmute and ask a question, or you can post it in the chat window. So our agenda for tonight, first, we're going to go over the schedule for Saturday, what you can expect on Saturday. We'll look a little bit at the FTC scoring portal and what that involves. We'll talk about the judging materials that the judges are looking for Saturday, the requirements of the engineering portfolio, the requirements of the control award. We'll talk about how the Zoom call itself, how the Zoom meeting will work on Saturday, a little bit about the process that takes place, how you submit your matches, and we still don't have a special event for this one that's left over from a previous version of this slide, which I need to remember to go take that line off. So again, if you have any questions, just feel free to pop in with chat or whatever that you need. So our schedule for Saturday is given by that's here. It's also in the emails we've sent out, and there's a set of announcements available through the FTC scoring website. So our schedule for Saturday is we'll open up the Zoom call sometime before 8 o'clock. Usually I've been opening it up at about 7:30 in the morning. And that's so our judges can begin arriving. They have some work to do before they start meeting with teams. And so the call will be open by 8 o'clock. You're welcome to join anytime after 8. Our judges will be joining then as well, and they will be getting organized for their things. Our judging presentations start at 9 and last until a little after 11 this time. This is a small event, partially because of the weekend and when it occurs in the season. So far at the moment, I think we have a total of 13 teams registered, which is really small for a qualifier. So what that hopefully means is some good opportunities for awards and advancements for many of your teams. So in the morning will be our judging, which will go fairly quickly, I think. Then we have a lunch break scheduled. The lunch break is scheduled for our judges to do their deliberations and work on coming up with things for their afternoon interviews. We'll have an opening ceremony starting at 12:45, and that lasts about 15 minutes. Then we have a driver's meeting at 1 o'clock, where we'll go over any updates and some key nuances and points about scoring your matches, and things you might want to know and be aware of when you're scoring your matches. And then from 1:30 to 2:45 is the afternoon interviews. And so we'll ask for teams to be in their breakout rooms in the afternoon interviews. I'll go over that in just a little bit more detail in a second. Your main point of contact besides the Zoom call is the FTC scoring portal, and you can access the scoring portal via this address, ftcscoring.firstinspires.org. And when you get there, you'll see a page. If you follow a link to your team, you'll see a page that looks like this image that's here on the right. Where it'll have your team name information, where they're, about your team, the events that you are registered in the first systems for. And there's two options off to the right. There's one that says play matches, and that's where you will go when you're ready to enter your match scores. And another one that says judging, and that's the one that you'll want to worry about or be focusing on between now and Saturday. So that's where you can get access to those. When you do the judging link, it takes you to a page that looks like this. Ignore that little note in the bottom because that's obviously wrong in the thing. The soft deadline is April is tonight. I'll explain that in a second. So if you select the judging link from the dashboard judging page, it takes you to this, and it will tell you for your team when your judging interview is scheduled for, and it gives you the links for uploading the engineering portfolio, the control award, and the feedback request form. I think my next slide shows this better. Yeah, so this is what I see as a coach when I go and look at my dashboard. My team is 71, 72 technical difficulties. We're not competing at this event. If I follow that link, it takes me to a page that looks like this, where it tells me what time the presentation judging session is. And if I click on the judging link that's here on the right, it takes me to a page that looks like this. And it says that my session is at such and such a time. And so that's already been published in the FTC scoring system. So if you log into FTC scoring for your own teams and go to the judging section, your judging session time should already be published. There's a link there, and that's the link that your team will use to access the Zoom meeting on Saturday to be part of the judging sessions and the opening ceremony. And then there are links here below for your judging material submissions. Those would be the engineering portfolio that you'll want to upload, the control award form if you're applying for the control award. That's a special award that you have to apply for to be considered for it. And if you'd like to get feedback from the judges, there's a form that you fill out for getting judging feedback, and I'll go through and give an example of that here in a second. So that's the overview of the judging page that exists. The engineering portfolios, we give them a soft deadline of the Thursday before the competition. So that would be tonight at midnight. It's okay to submit late. You don't have to have it in by tonight. As long as you get it there by Saturday morning when the judges are looking for it, that will be fine. The engineering portfolio has to be in PDF format. You're limited to 15 pages plus a cover page if you would like to add a cover page. You have to make sure that your team number is at the top of the first page, and FIRST recommends that you put it at the top of every page. And for more details about the engineering portfolio, you can look at section 9.3 of Game Manual Part 1 to get that information. So you'll want to upload that. You can upload a portfolio as many times as you wish. The system will show the judges the latest one that you have uploaded. They won't see the previous versions. So you can upload one, to make sure that you're covered. You can upload another one if there's some updates. Just keep in mind that anything that's uploaded after midnight tonight will show up and be tagged as late. So far, the judges have not been paying a lot of attention to that late moniker in terms of the judging, at least not that I've seen or heard from my interactions with judging or watching what teams do. I can tell you that for the competition that my team was in 2 weeks ago, we submitted ours the night before the competition, so it was marked late, and it didn't seem to affect our results. Or if it did, we didn't hear anything about it. The Control Award is a special award if you're wanting to apply for that. The Control Award has to do with excellence in control systems on the robot. So this would be a good use of sensors and programming to get your robot to do things more automatedly than simply having the team members control it using the controls from the game pads from the driver station. So there's a specific format that you're supposed to use or follow that the judges will be looking for. It's in Appendix E of Game Manual Part 1. You do need to take a video of your robot showing it using the Control Award features that you describe in your submission form. And you're generally limited to 2 pages. The system doesn't enforce that limit in any way, but the judges are instructed that for forms that are longer than 2 pages, they're really supposed to only focus on the first couple of pages for that. And then finally is the judging feedback form. And the judging feedback form, you're looking at the entire form here on the screen. This is the feedback form that you can put in. If you enter a judging feedback form, the form simply asks for how many students on your team, what is the one thing that your team hopes to achieve or gain from participating in the Game Changer season, in this FTC season, and what does the phrase gracious professionalism mean to your team? So you would put in what those things are. It's just prose text, and the judges can look at that when they're evaluating their feedback. The judges will then interview your teams, and when the event is finished and we publish the event, you'll get back a form that kind of talks about that doesn't talk about, that gives feedback from the judges. And what I'll do real quick is I'm going to share the one that my team got, just so you can see what you will get back. So let me go to the FTC scoring site and show that here real quick. And just a minute while I pull it up. and share my screen again with that. There is a question that came in through the chat while I'm doing this, and it basically asks, are the coaches in the Zoom room when the teams are presenting? That's up to you. FTC has always allowed coaches to be in the judging room with the teams while presentations are taking place. So that is a decision that you make. We do ask that the coaches be on camera if you can, so the judges can see what the coach is doing, because you're not supposed to be prompting the teams, and muted. So there's not a requirement for that, but we kind of, we want to make sure that the teams are the ones answering the questions without a lot of prompting or hinting from the coaches. So you're totally allowed to be there to get the experience of what happens in the judging rooms. Or if you are in a school environment where you really need to be there for custody reasons or whatever like that, that's totally fine. We just ask that you not interact with the teams while you're doing that. Let me go to my Chrome window here. Oops, this is the wrong page. So, and let me share this screen to make it easier for everybody to see. There we go, share the screen. All right. So just to go and let you see what things look like. So here I went, I'll go to judging, and this is for the Hedrick event that took place a couple of weeks ago. And once the event was completed, then we get access to the things that were submitted. So the engineering portfolio and the control award that you submit, those get deleted from the system 2 weeks after the event is published. And so the system will automatically delete them, and we ask that our judges not take copies of any of the materials you submit with them, so they can't use it to to kind of compete against your teams or anything like that. And then the feedback request form, what you get back is something that looks like this. So this was 7172's judging feedback form. Where we submitted the part that's on the top, and the judges then gave us feedback about how well the team was prepared for the judging session, if they displayed gracious professionalism. There's a number of different criteria that the judges look at, and they just simply say, among these performance levels, either not demonstrated, beginning, developing, accomplished, or exemplary. So you can kind of see how that will work. So that's what the judging feedback looks like. Let me just go back, and you can see here's the link I was talking about with the time that our judging session was at, and the link that I gave to all my team members so that they would be able to join. All right, let me stop there and take questions before I go on to the next part. There's a question here asking about how the qualifier on May 1st will work. It's a hybrid event. I'm going to save that for the end of this session because I want to focus first of all on this weekend's event for the coaches that are competing this weekend, but I can talk a little bit about how the hybrid qualifiers will work after that. Any other questions before I continue back to my slides? Okay. So on Saturday, here's how the Zoom call will work. When you enter the Zoom meeting, and it's going to be a Zoom meeting much like the one that you're in now, there will be multiple breakout rooms set up. There's a separate breakout room for each team. There's a separate breakout room that's called the pit, and it's a common area. And there are separate breakout rooms for the judges to use. Your team will typically only need to be in your team's breakout room or in the pit or in the main meeting room for the event. If you've been to an event previously in previous years, then you know that the typical way judging has worked is that there's a set of rooms where the judges are and the teams go to the judging. It's like the teams will be told they're to go to judging panel number 3, and teams will go one after another to judging panel 3. For remote events, we've been doing it the opposite way. What happens is every team is given their own virtual breakout room, and when the judges are ready to come and do your judging presentation, they will show up in your team room to begin the interviews and do the interviews and to conduct the interview. So what that means is that you can show up to your breakout room early before your judging session and get everything set up. That's a good time. If you show up early to your judging session, your team members can go straight to their breakout room. You can go through and check audio levels. You can check video. You can check that everybody's connected fine. And the idea is that when the judges arrive, you'd like to be set up and ready to go so that you can give your best presentation and your best interview while you're doing that. There's not any passwords or any restrictions on jumping from room to room. So we ask that all the teams just be gracious professionals and only go to the rooms that you're supposed to do. It is possible to join another team's room, and you can do that. If you wanted to visit with another team, you can do that. We just please ask that you not do it while they are being judged. Do not interrupt their judging session. I don't know how much of that has taken place at previous events, but we don't have any of the rooms locked or anything like that. The team breakout rooms are available for the entire duration of Saturday. When your team members arrive, we ask that they use first names only, not have last names, and that you put your team number in your identifier when you connect to Zoom. Having the team number there helps our event managers to quickly know who's with which team, and we can more quickly help team members get to the right place if they're having any difficulties. What we found so far is that the team members have no problem knowing what to do in Zoom. It's often the coaches and mentors who need the help. But at any rate, we try to have everybody who's in the Zoom call identify by the role they're playing, whether they happen to be a judge, whether they're with a team, or whether they're one of the event staff or somebody else who's helping out with the meeting. So that's the logistics. The process, every team has a specific judging time. You have your own breakout room. You connect using the link that's in the FTC scoring portal. It's the same for everybody. We have people who will be in the main meeting room of the Zoom call that can help direct your attendees, your students or coaches to the correct breakout room if you're having difficulty. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the judge panel will join the team-specific room whenever it's time for the judging to take place. So far, all of our judging sessions have run really on time like clockwork. Not any, event-wide delays or anything like that. I'm probably going to regret saying that because now this will be the event where that happens, but let's just see we'll see how things go there. It's been really smooth so far, and we're really liking the remote judging process. The interview format itself, what will happen during the interview is your team will have about 15 to 20 minutes with the judges. You'll notice that the time that it shows up for your judging session is a 25-minute period, but you will only get 15 or 20 minutes with the judges. The remaining 5 minutes is time for the judges to transition to their next judging session and to meet privately about what they just observed when interviewing your team. At the beginning of the interview, your teams have up to 5 minutes uninterrupted where you can do a presentation. If you have some things that you would like to present or present to the judges beforehand. Most judges and most teams recommend that you do some sort of a presentation to introduce your team, introduce your robot, and make sure to cover the key points that you would like the judges to know. It should be a live presentation, not something that's entirely pre-recorded. So we would like to hear from the team members that are there and not just a pre-cut video that somebody has created for the team. When we say that it's live, that doesn't mean that you can't use slides or screen sharing. You can use slides, you can share screens, you can share short video clips. We recommend that the video clips be without audio, that they be narrated live if you're doing any of that. And after the 5 minutes are up and the judges are instructed to cut a team's presentation off at the 5 minute mark, then the judges will have time for the remainder of the interview session where they can ask questions of the team, interview the team, learn more about the team, and to try and gather whatever details they think they need to make award decisions. Please remind your team members that our judges are volunteers, and we're very grateful that they're giving up parts of their Friday and Saturday to be judges at these events. And, they have a really difficult task when they are being asked to come up with identifying the top teams for the event. And so, be very kind to our judges, thank them profusely if you can for the time that they're spending to make sure that these events are successful, because they're really important to the success of FTC and the program. And it's one of the most challenging parts for us is to find good judges. Let me just stop there real quick and see if anybody has any questions about the judging interviews in the morning or the interview format.
Just one. The original email said something about there was going to be pit judging. How's that going to work?
So that's the afternoon interviews. So I'll come to those next. Any other quick questions on the morning stuff?
How do we submit the score for the game?
That will come a bit later also. I'll show you that in a little bit. All right. So in the afternoon is what we call pit judging, or it's technically called follow-up judging. What happens in the morning is that the judges are divided up into panels. We're expecting to have 3 panels for this event. And so they interview all of the teams. And then when the morning interviews conclude, those judges all come back together and they have to, as a group, decide which teams are the likeliest candidates for the awards that they're going to do. But each team will have only been seen by one panel of judges. And so we need afternoon interviews in order for the judges to drill down a little bit deeper with teams to find out who would be most deserving of the award. So the judges reform into new panels, and they'll have a panel that's focused on, say, like a Think Award, or not the Inspire Award, but on the Think Award or the Connect Award, and they will come by and interview teams in the afternoon. So from 1:30 to 2:45, we ask that your team have somebody in their team breakout room for judges to come by. We can't tell you in advance when judges will come by because that's going to depend on their deliberations on Saturday. We can tell you that every team will be interviewed by some judges or by some people involved in the judging process in the afternoon. So you won't be sitting there hanging out for an hour and 15 minutes and never see anybody. So everybody will have an afternoon interview. Those afternoon interviews are key for the judges to make the distinctions. And usually that's when they're making the distinctions between who gets first, who gets second, who gets third for each of the awards sorts of things. For the afternoon interviews, it's not necessary for the entire team to be present or available. If you have just a few key representatives that you think will be able to handle the judges' questions, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to have the full team present. These are analogous to the pit interviews that would take place at traditional events. Again, if you've been to a traditional event, then you know that we have morning judging sessions, and then in the late morning and in the afternoon is when matches are being played. But while matches are being played, judges will go around to the team pit areas for the follow-up interviews in the pits. And so just like happens at a traditional event, when the judges come by for the pit areas, it's very common that the full team isn't present. Some of the team members may be actually playing matches, or they may be at the practice field, or they may be otherwise occupied. And so it's very common, and judges expect that they don't need to see the full team in the afternoon. They're just looking for people who can help to answer their questions. So that is the afternoon session that's there. Any questions on the afternoon judging before I go further? Okie doke. And then we get to matches. So this is the question that just came up about how do you submit your match scores? The match submission window starts at 11 o'clock Saturday and lasts until midnight Friday, April 9th, which means you have almost the entire week to submit your match scores. So, at 11 o'clock, the match submission window opens and you can go and play your matches. I'll show kind of what that looks like here. If I can get the screen to share. There's links in the documents that we've sent out that go through and describe the match scoring process in more detail. But just to give an idea of what it looks like, oops, that was not what I meant. Share screen there, share. All right. So I'm going to go back to my set of events here, and I'm going to look at the play matches portion for the Hedrick qualifier. And that takes you to a screen that looks like this. And you'll see there's an option here that says play matches. And so I'll go and hit play matches. You can see for your teams, it will show matches as being unplayed. Here, 7172 had played their individual matches. And then from there, there's I'm going to show the test match because it shows the same sort of thing. For the test match, let me reset it. It takes you to a screen that looks like this. And it's a good idea to do a couple of test matches with your team prior to doing your official matches, just so everybody can understand what's supposed to happen. The normal flow for doing test matches is very similar to what happens at a normal event. You have your team set up their robot on the field, ready to start the match. Once they say they're ready, they're not supposed to touch the robot or the controllers or the game pads until the beginning of the autonomous period. So once they say they're ready, it's hands off. You then randomize the field by clicking this button that says randomize, like so. And so that then randomizes the field to say how many rings should be in the starter stack. So for this particular test match, the system rolled a 6, and that means 4 rings should be in the starter stack. And then you would click the start match button. So you would have a team member go and set up the correct number of rings. Again, the team members cannot touch the robot or their controllers at this time because they said they were already set up. So they can't change autonomous modes. They can't do anything like that. Once the 4 rings are set up, you can check to make sure that the team is ready, and then you can start the match. And when you start the match, there will be some sounds that will count down 3, 2, 1, go, and it takes you to the scoring system. So at this point, the team is playing their match. You have somebody who is watching the field for penalties, watching the field for scoring. They can, after they do that, they can indicate how many rings are being scored, when wobble goals are being delivered, and the like. Again, that's covered in more details in some of the videos that we've sent out. When you're done, when the team is done with the autonomous mode, the scorer can submit autonomous, exactly like a referee would do in an official event. Once the autonomous has been submitted, you do the driver control period, and then you're able to do the entire match. I may be able to show a video of my team going through this process here in a little bit, but that's effectively how matches get played. Again, you have the entire week. You do have to play according to normal time constraints. There are no replays, except the only time you would have a replay is if there's a field failure, if something happened on the field that actually caused a failure. So example might be, if the tower goal fell over into the middle of the field or something like that, then you might be able to replay a match. Just because something didn't work right on your robot, that's not a reason to replay or rescore a match. So if your robot starts out and a ring gets stuck in the middle, and as a result, you're not able to score any more points, then you don't get to replay that match. You just take the score as it happens to be, just as if it was at a real event. At real events or at traditional events, robot failures aren't grounds for replaying a match. That's just part of the competition. Any questions about playing matches? So hopefully you all can see my video screen here, and I'll just hit the play button and we'll see what happens. Match number 4 for the Hedrick Remote Qualifier. So at this point, the team members are setting up for the match. They've set up the robot. Ready for randomize? And now at this point, they have started the program on their robot controller so that it's in the init phase. The robot is ready to go, so they know they can't touch the controllers or the robot at this point. So now I'm acting as the scorekeeper. So I say ready to randomize. They're double checking that the robot's parallel before I actually do that. Okay. Randomizing. So I randomize, and you can see that when I did randomize, we had a monitor set up over here on the left where they could see the timer and things that were taking place. The system rolled a 2, which meant that there's 1 ring on the field for the start of the match. So our player comes and he grabs the 1 ring and leaves 1 ring for the start of the match. But notice the team members don't touch the robot or the other thing. Starting match.
3, 2, 1.
And now they just start to play their match. All right, and so as they're playing the match, since I'm acting as scorekeeper, I keep track of what they're managing to score and putting it into the system through the web interface while they're playing their match. So I'm going to stop there, but I'll leave it paused. But that's what match play will look like. Let me go back to my slides. see what's next. We expect to, and so you have all week. So you have up until April 9th to submit your matches. And so because of that, we can't really do awards until after all the matches are done. So you won't know how your judging session went until we do awards, which we expect to do on Sunday. Normally I'd try and do it on Saturday, but we have another event taking place in Aledo on Saturday that is a hybrid event. So I'll actually be out of town that day. So you can expect that awards will be announced on Sunday afternoon sometime. And that's when we'll find out the which teams won which awards, the team rankings, how teams did in their robot game matches, and who advances to the regional championship. We will be advancing at least 4 teams from this tournament to the regional championship. Given that there's only 13 teams at the event, I would say your odds are pretty good. They're better than at many of other events to be able to advance to the regional championship. So. And I think that's it for my slides. So from there, I'll just take any more questions that people have about Saturday and what to expect.
I may have missed this, so I apologize if you covered it. How are the robot inspections going to happen?
For a remote event, each team is responsible for doing its own robotics inspection. Right. So there is a checklist that is in Game Manual Part 1, and there's various other checklists, but you're on your honor that your robot would pass inspection. So what we encourage you to do is to have a team member go through with the inspection checklist sheet that is given in the appendix of Game Manual Part 1 and make sure that all of the items are covered. But gracious professionalism is the rule at the remote events. And so we really rely on teams to make sure that their robots are legal when they compete with their matches and that they score their matches accurately. Any other questions for Saturday?
Just a quick one. This is Scott. I still haven't been able to get into the team roster to update it or fill it out. Is that?
Oh, I tried earlier today and I was able to get to firstinspires.org. Are you at least able to get into firstinspires.org?
Yeah, I can get into I've submitted the portfolio and the forms and stuff. I just can't find a way to update the team. Is that so? I just didn't want that to be an issue.
Yeah, right. So sort of thing. But let me show you where you can go get your rosters because we do want all the rosters to be taken care of.
All right. Yeah, that would be great. I'm sorry if there's other questions. I just can't figure out how to get there.
These are the good questions. This is and especially we have a lot of new teams this year, and it used to be that you could bring your roster with you to the event, right? And we can't do that this year with the remote events. And so this is a good chance to see that. All right, so for the rosters, you want to go to firstinspires.org, not the scoring system, but to firstinspires.org. And there's a link up at the top right that's my dashboard.
Yep.
And so you can go to my dashboard, and when you go to my dashboard, there's a section that has all of your teams. And this is where you would have registered your team and put all of that in. The roster options are here where it says text roster. And then manage contacts. And I don't want to click on this page for my team because it will give out private details. But this is where you would go and manage your contacts. That's where you can invite team members to join the team. It's where their parents or themselves, if they're over 18, can do the consent release forms. And it's where you can create a roster. And as long as that's been done in the first system, you've completed the first team roster process.
Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't. All right.
All right. So Katie from Ravenclaw is asking about the hybrid event that's taking place on May 1st. And so I'm going to go ahead and answer that because I know a lot of people have been asking how those will work. We are planning for our first hybrid event is next weekend. And hybrid events are an entirely new beast, just like the remote events are. So we're still figuring out ourselves what the format is going to be. So I can tell you what we're planning for the Aledo event, but just keep in mind that we may learn some lessons and change it. Our current plans for the Aledo event is that the Friday night before the competition is when judging will take place, and it will be remote via Zoom. So after school, in the evening, something like that. We know that might be a challenge for some teams. We'll try and work with teams that can't do it at that particular time and come up with an alternate. But our intention is that judging is not taking place during matches. Because that adds a challenge. We haven't completely figured out when the follow-up judging will take place. There's a possibility we'd try to do it the Saturday morning of the event. We're still figuring out when that would be. But the Friday before the event for a hybrid event is the judging time for that event, and then the matches take place on Saturday. Follow-up judging still being worked out, and then we do awards on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. So hybrid events would be pretty quickly. So for the May 1st qualifier, we're planning to do judging on April 30th, the evening before the event. Then teams will send their drive teams out to the hybrid location. So for the Hedrick event, it would be Hedrick Middle School in Louisville, where they would compete in they'd run through inspection. We will have inspectors available. We'd compete in matches, do playoffs, and then the award ceremony would be done at that point. All of the things that happen in the event at the hybrid event, as far as matches and award ceremony, are live streamed on the web so that everybody can see the matches taking place and be part of the awards from a distance. Hopefully that answers the question.
Patrick.
Yes.
Do we have to submit also the video of the game and the score, right?
You do not have to. It is not required.
Okay.
We highly encourage teams to do that. And you can see that, my team, we videoed all of our matches, and I haven't yet uploaded them, but we plan to post them to our YouTube channel. Just because an important part of FTC is being able to see what other teams' robots are doing. And of course, if you have one of the higher scores, other teams would like to see how you did that. So we aren't requiring videos. We're not allowed to require videos. First doesn't allow us to require videos for the event, which is why it's on the honor system. But videos are really helpful for everybody to understand how you achieved the scores you did and have some level of faith that the scores you're reporting are in some sense accurate. There's not any review process where, if we notice something wrong in a video, that we go back and edit the score. It's still, self-reporting by the teams.
Okay, great, thank you.
The other part of that is that we're inviting teams to do videos because I wanted to do it this week. I didn't end up with time to do it. I'm wanting to do a mid-season recap where we recap the events that have been played so far, just, as a thing for the region. I'll probably try and do it next week. And the mid-season recap, we're going to show highlights from the videos that have been submitted so far so that people can see what the robots are doing with some comments and things like that. So watch for the recap to be happen soon.
That sounds amazing.
Any other questions about the event coming up? If not, I will close out the coaches part of the meeting.
I had a question about the hybrid, or do we want to talk about that
Nope,
after you close this out?
Okay, I can go ahead and talk about it. I'll clip if needed.
I thank you, Patrick. Bye-bye.
You're welcome, Maria. Good luck this weekend. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Great
Yeah,
call.
if you need to go or
Bill-
whatever, I'm pretty much done with the coaches meeting. I'm going to go ahead and keep recording, but I'll probably cut at this point if it doesn't apply to the remote event.
Great. Thank you much.